Hey everybody, Mike King. Looks like we're just waiting for folks to get started in Idaho. We'll continue to have this just monitoring the background and go right in when the time is.
Good morning to everybody. Mr. Pryor, Mr. Daybell, can I get you to turn on your video, please? We'll go on the record here in Fremont County. Good morning to everybody. It is May 26, 2021. Case number CR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Present here on the Zoom call, I have Mr. Daybell appearing with his counsel, Mr. Pryor. I have Mr. Wood, who represents the state. Also, Ms. Blake, who is here representing the state. I have a court reporter and someone from the Idaho Supreme Court for technical issues. This is the date and time for an initial appearance. Mr. Daybell, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you
I
hear
need
me?
you to speak a little bit louder, Mr. Daybell.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. Daybell, the purpose of today's initial appearance is to go through your rights, to talk about the date for future hearings, to talk about counsel, and a few other things. Mr. Daybell, did you review a copy of the notification of rights form that was sent down to the jail prior to this hearing today?
Yes,
You understand your legal rights here today?
I do.
Mr. Pryor, did you go through that notification of rights form with your client?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Daybell, did you receive a copy of the indictment that was filed on May 25th, 2021, a warrant that was filed on that same date?
Yes, I did.
Did you have a chance to review that with your counsel, Mr. Pryor?
He did, Judge, and we have no questions at this time.
Mr. Pryor, it's my understanding from a review of the notification of rights that your client is waiving a formal reading of the indictment. If it's okay with you, I'll just go through each charge and the maximum penalties. I'm not going to go through the allegation contained in the charge.
That's appropriate, Your Honor.
Ms. Blake or Mr. Wood, any objection to that?
No, Your Honor, I think that's appropriate.
No objection.
Right. Mr. Daybell, the indictment, like I said, is case number CR 2221-1623. It was filed on May 25th, 2021. In the indictment, there are 9 counts. I'm going to go through the counts that are relevant to your case. The first count is conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, as well as grand theft by deception. That count is punishable to the same extent as the underlying crime on the conspiracy. On the first part of that count, murder in the first degree, it's punishable by death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose a life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years. It carries up to a $50,000 fine or both. It also carries with it up to a $5,000 fine and restitution. With regards to the second part of count 1, conspiracy to commit grand theft by deception, that portion of the charge carries up to 14 years in prison, up to a $5,000 fine or both. Count 1 is an allegation of, like I said, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft. The murder relates to the victim and the death of TR, a minor. Count 2 is a charge of first-degree murder. It carries with it a maximum penalty punishable by death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years. It carries up to a $50,000 fine and up to a $5,000 fine and restitution. It relates to the death of the minor child, TR. Count 3 is a charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. That charge carries with it the same maximum penalty as count 1. In other words, it's punishable by death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose a life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years, a $50,000 fine and/or up to a $5,000 fine and restitution. The second portion of that charge is conspiracy to commit grand theft by deception. That portion of the charge carries up to 14 years in the state penitentiary, up to a $5,000 fine or both. That count relates to the death of the minor child, JV. Count 4 is a charge of first-degree murder. That charge is punishable by death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose a life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years, a $50,000 fine plus $5,000 fine and restitution. That count relates to the death of JV, a minor. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. That charge carries with it the potential penalty of death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose a life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years, a $50,000 fine plus $5,000 fine and restitution. That charge relates to the death of Vallow-Daybell. Count 6 is a charge of first-degree murder. That charge carries with it punishment by death or life imprisonment. If the death penalty is not sought, the court shall impose a life sentence, including mandatory minimum period of incarceration of 10 years. Carries up to a $50,000 fine and a $5,000 fine and restitution. The next count related to your case is count 8. It's an allegation of insurance fraud. Insurance fraud, as it is charged, carries up to 15 years in the state penitentiary, a fine of up to $15,000 plus restitution. Count 9 is the last count. It is also a charge of insurance fraud. It carries up to 15 years in the state penitentiary, a fine of up to $15,000 or both plus restitution. Mr. Daybell, the maximum penalties of all of those counts carry up to, they could all run consecutively, one after the other, or they could run concurrently. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Pryor, have you had a chance to explain that to your client?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
We'll proceed then. Very well. Mr. Daybell, you're appearing here today with Mr. Pryor. Do you wish to represent yourself? Do you wish to hire an attorney, Mr. Pryor, or would you like to seek application of a public defender?
Judge, Mr. Daybell has retained my office to continue representing him in this matter, and that's the way I anticipate going forward, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Daybell, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. All right, the next item of business is to set the arraignment. That arraignment will be in front of the district court judge. As of right now, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Wood, Ms. Blake, the court has available June the 9th in the morning. That's the date we will set that arraignment for. It's yet to be determined if that's going to be in person or via Zoom. That will be worked out at a later time and date. Also, the exact time of that arraignment on June 9th will be set by the court, and we'll send out final notice of that, but it will be in the morning on June the 9th. Does that work for everybody?
That will work for the state, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
We'll plan on that. Right now, the warrant has set forth no bail. Mr. Pryor, does that need to be addressed here today?
No, Judge.
Is there anything else we need to take up here today at this initial appearance, Mr. Wood or Ms. Blake?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Pryor, anything else from the defense we need to bring up here today at this initial appearance?
Nothing further, Your Honor. May we be excused?
You may. Thanks, everybody, for appearing. We will be adjourned on this matter.
Well, there you go, folks. I'm just printing off the arrest affidavit. Maybe we can chat for a few minutes. In 15 minutes, Lori Vallow-Daybell will be arraigned. Well, actually not arraigned. It'll be her first appearance. We just learned that June 9th will be the date of the arraignment. So I want to just spend some time and maybe answer some questions you have, or we'll all just chat for a few minutes. I want to thank all of you for jumping on. I also want to thank my great employer who allows me to kind of take a lunch break whenever I need. So we're spending lunch again together, and I hope you're all having a good day. Thanks to our mods. I really appreciate you jumping in and helping keep things under control here. Let's just look through real quick and see what folks are saying. Let's see. Nine Girl, great to see you here. Choose Life, thank you. Lori, Cinnamon Panos, folks. If you're not a subscriber to Profiling Evil, would you please take a minute and hit the subscribe button below and become a part of the family? It also gives us a way to notify you when information like this comes up. Peapod says, glad to see murder charges finally. Another great day. Yeah, great day for law enforcement, the DA, in this case, prosecuting county attorneys, and it's really good. Boo Boo Bear, great to see you on there. Kitty Cat. Let's see. Somebody over next to Salida saying hello. Had family, Debbie Utz up in those hills, and I always tease Debbie because I love Utz pretzels, and I keep waiting for her to get me a sponsorship with them so I can have my Diet Dr. Peppers and my Utz pretzels. But let's see here. Joey Faith is a good one. People must be blowing up my email. That's funny. Yeah, it does get kind of busy at times, but I'll tell you what, I really enjoy chatting with you folks when you do write. And I'm so sorry. There are times when there are so many I can't respond back, but I try to read almost everything. So this is really meaningful to me that you jump in. And let's see. Here, Carolina Stella, he's acting like he didn't get charged with murder. You know, it's interesting. He's had kind of a flat affect all along. Speaking of Chad Daybell, and you know, I don't know. I guess here's what I'm thinking is Lori has a lot of death around her. Chad has been fascinated with death. Somehow this gas and flame couple got together, and then things just really ignited. We see this in cult behavior so often when just the right mix get together. And I wonder at what point, and maybe it hasn't happened yet, but at what point the two of them thought to themselves, what have I done? I just can't imagine that at some point a light of goodness doesn't spark inside of them to say, do you realize what you've done? This is just so incredible to think about. Peapod is saying, my gut tells me they'll go after the death penalty option. They have 60 days to exercise that now from today. I don't know. I thought you might be interested if we have a little discussion about the death penalty. If you remember, and it was banned for many years in the United States, was brought back in 1976. When you think about Idaho in particular, this is a state that's had 29 executions, I think, since 1864. So they conducted the last hanging in the state. I think they're a lethal injection state. But the last hanging was 1957. So about the time I was getting born was the last execution that happened. But they've had 26 executions in Idaho since 1976. Currently on death row in Idaho's penitentiary system, there are 8 people who are on death row. And there's only one woman. So that one woman might be looking forward to having another woman to talk to on death row, because Lori and Chad could certainly receive the death penalty if everything falls in line like it hopefully will. It took from 1976 till 1994 for the first execution to happen. And this stuff doesn't happen very quickly. Think about the fact that many executions occur decades after the crime occurred. That just means that family is penalized. The victims' families are punished and penalized decades longer. Every time an appeal comes up, they relive the experience. Every time there is a stay of execution, they relive the experience. They have to constantly battle with, is execution going to in any way satisfy the aches and pains that I have? And in most cases, my experience has been people say that it didn't. But anyway, that's just a little bit of information on the death penalty and Idaho. So, yeah, we saw a very subdued Chad this morning. Marilyn Pastor, thanks for your comments. Niner girl, thank you. Immaculate Airs, great to see folks piling in. Peapod says, going to be scary hearing death a few times. Yeah, imagine how thrilled family members are that finally there's just another inch of the door closing on this thing. It's been, I'm sure, a long time. I'm going to follow up with a couple of videos talking about the affidavit in detail. And I'm going to talk about them individually because it is pretty complex. It's an 11-page indictment, but in the indictment, because it bounces between JJ and Tylee and Tammy, there are multiple charges in there. A couple of things that are really important to point out is that the prosecution did a really clean job of saying, first and foremost, the defendants are Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Noreen Vallow-Daybell, and they also list Alex Cox as a deceased defendant in the case. I think that's really important because it tips their hand that they are going to play very strongly that Alex was involved. He may have been the actual actor of the homicides. But this is something that I found in cults often, and it makes me really worry. I talk about it often. And if you haven't, hang on. If you haven't picked up my book, Deceived, I talk about this in the book, and please do. I'd love to have you pick that up. But in the book, I talk about the fact that I worry less about the prophet or the self-proclaimed leader who's receiving revelation than I do the number 2 or the number 3, the minions in a cult, because it seems like the self-proclaimed leaders always say, okay, I've received this vision. In this case, zombies need to be eliminated. My wife, Tammy, if all these allegations are accurate, needs to be eliminated so that you and I, Lori, can come together to form this great union of gods. But we've received revelation, and now you, Alex, are so blessed because you get to be the arm of the revelation. You get to be the one to act it out. And so they throw the number twos or the minions under the bus to fulfill. But these people are so excited to be able to show their allegiance and prove that they're faithful, that they're willing to step up and commit murder. And what we see in this particular indictment is that they clearly call out Alex Cox, deceased. But here's something kind of cool. They say any other known or unknown conspirators are also going to be held responsible for first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. And then they start breaking it down, and they start off first with Tylee Ryan, and they talk about the fact that Chad and Lori hatched this, in my opinion, false belief system of zombies, and that they're gods and goddesses, and that they've been reincarnated, and that they've been all these amazing people in history now coming together to usher in the doomsday end of the world. They start this mentality and fervor, and we see a lot of people getting caught up in this. We saw there were 45 people on a witness list that the state put out. This starts to get a fervor built up around it. And then they hatch this plan somewhere between October of 2018 and June 9th, the day that they believe Tylee dies, of 2019, that at that point, they hatch this plan about gods and goddesses and secrecy and all kinds of things. Now, from there, they go on to say that the homicide of Tylee occurs. So again, we're looking at June 9th of 2019. Let's see, I think that's right. Or 2020. Gosh, I need my glasses on. No, I'm sorry. It's 2019. That in fact, if you remember, I think it's, I actually wrote it on a calendar. I got a little calendar here that I kind of keep track of this wacky case on. And it's September of 2019, September 1st, that Lori moves the family from Chandler to Rexburg, Idaho. And there she's secretly having her affair with Chad. The plan is moving into action. They've been proselytizing this whacked out religion of doomsday and zombies. And then 1 week after moving there, they put together the Yellowstone trip, where you see these beautiful pictures of the family just loving each other and being with each other, setting the stage for what a loving family they are. And then they suspect the following day, Monday, September 9th, 2019, that Tylee is murdered. And then, of course, we see what we see unfolding with the Social Security benefits from Joseph Ryan's death, Tylee's father. Those were being routed into Tylee's personal JP Morgan account. But just before Tylee's death, Lori moves that money to her own bank account, BBVA, which is a subsidiary Argentinian bank that has headquarters in Alabama. And there she starts having the money directly delivered to her. And then for a period of time after, for 5 months or so, she continues to receive Tylee's Social Security benefits, knowing that she's dead. And that's where we see the other charge popping up. Well, let me just stop there for a minute and answer some of your questions and talk to you. Rosa from South Africa, great to see you here. Let's see. Marilyn, you got a good soul. Bittersweet to see the charges, upset how evil people can be. Amen. People can be incredibly evil. I guess that's part of the reason why we selected the name Profiling Evil for our channel. Now, here's a question from Skylar the Creative. Do we think Chad and Lori will ever take the stand or be made to answer any questions or speak to anyone at all? They don't have to answer any questions. They don't have to speak to anyone. I can guarantee you that their lawyer is going to say, don't take the stand, but they will want to put on evidence to say, we had no idea our wacky brother-in-law Alex was out doing these things. So many of you have speculated, will Alex be the scapegoat? It would be crazy not to make him scapegoat in this thing. And that's going to be the only way that someone like Chad can ever even begin to justify. I had no idea children were buried in my backyard. Crazy Uncle Alex did it when I wasn't at home. The problem is all of the code words back and forth, all of the testimony, what we saw in Melanie Gibbs' subpoena yesterday. If you'll go back and watch that video, you'll see my thoughts on that. But we're going to see that there is so much more to this case that is going to support the capital murder case, and I think the death penalty, that these were conspired cases where they went through planning and forethought and committed the homicide of those children. And Chad is going to face that with Tammy, I believe. Let's see here. Jody Blonde, good to see you. Let's see. Somebody commented that the district attorney has 60 days. By the way, folks, I'm watching in the background. Just so you're aware, I'm not going to surprise you at the last second. We're in recess while we wait. Probably another minute or two, but we'll put that up here as soon as Lori is brought into the courtroom. We'll go to hers. Karen Laverly, yes, the arraignment's going to be June 9th, and so that will be great. That's coming up quickly, and then the clock starts running. So Linda Petrovich, how you doing? Nice to see you. Folks, thanks again. I'm going to just shout out, if you would, a couple of little self-promotion things. Please consider joining the Profiling Evil family. Hit the subscribe button now so that you get notifications when these things come. If you're interested in my thoughts on cult behavior, I talk about cult characteristics, recruiting tactics, and other kinds of things, in my book, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. I would invite you to go to Amazon, or you can go to Profiling Evil and pick up the book, and there you'll be able to catch things. Got some great endorsements, I got to say. I mean, Dr. Phil McGraw says you want to read this book. It's chilling and compelling at the same time. I think one of my favorite quotes comes from Dr. Yanya Lalick, who talks about, and if you've looked at her and her cult research, she talks about the fact that the book is timely for this day and age. It is absolutely timely for this day and age as we try to understand this cult behavior and cult mentality that's going on. It is just crazy, crazy stuff. Life According to Theo, Lori's entitled to half of all the marital assets to pay for the hearing. I think they're both probably, I think their lawyers in these cases have probably been able to lock down most of that. The sad thing is Chad's money should be going to his children. He not only has taken their mother away from them, but probably will take away any inheritance that they might get. And gosh, our thoughts and prayers need to constantly go out to all of the residual victims in these kinds of cases. This isn't a happy day. This is awesome that people are being held accountable for what they did. But here's a great comment. Do you think Alex's death will be rechecked? I've thought it needed to be rechecked from day one, and I certainly hope that they'll look at it. They had to get rid of Alex, in my opinion, if he was the shooter, just to save face. Fuzzy Doxy, thanks for that kind super chat. Once all the dark people were dead and out of the way, Alex died. You know, isn't that interesting? I want to try to find that and pop it up here. For some reason, I'm here we go. And again, thank you so much for that kind donation. A lot of questions about Scientology that pop up on the channel. People say he doesn't answer because he's afraid. You know, I haven't studied Scientology much. It's an area that we haven't faced in Utah, and it really wasn't something that we looked at much here. The insurance fraud charges are for taking the life insurance on Tammy Daybell. Yes, that's correct, Angela. That's where that charge is stemming from, according to the arrest affidavit. So let's see here, Laura. Alex did everything at their direction and then was killed afterward. Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. What these cults like to do is they take someone, especially a mind that's easy to mold, and they let them know that it's been revealed to them that they are somehow a person of greatness in heaven and in the eternities, and they just have to fulfill these things on earth that they, the leaders, the voice of God, are telling them to do, and it seems to always lead to heartache. This keeps coming up. Rhonda Henderson, what about the phone call where Melanie discusses the deaths? I continue to stay away from it, Melanie, because it hasn't been made public by the right sources yet. I try to really focus on information where I can either make a personal assessment or that publicly those in authority have released the information. So I apologize because I just kind of stay away from that stuff, and I hope you understand. Lena Johnson from Sweden is here. Thanks so much for jumping in. Sandra, I got to just put this up because of your name. And hello to the fellow German. Dagmar, guten Tag. Wie geht es Ihnen? Sandra, welche Stadt kommst du aus? Let's see here. Jessica, let's see. The worst state witness ever is Melanie Gibb. I don't know, Jessica. She may end up being the greatest state witness if, in fact, she was given immunity. That means that she may know an awful lot, and she could turn out to be really important in the case. But it is a really interesting message that you put up there. Let's see. This is an interesting question. Mikkel Clyde, thanks so much for asking this. Do I get more money that I've been passing on for building a new children's justice center if the sale comes from the website, profilingevil.com, or Amazon? Amazon will always take a cut, but they sell a lot more books. We still get a few dollars out of that. But if you purchase the hardbound book and if you get it autographed, then there's a lot more money that I'm able to put forward. And for those of you who might be wondering about that, on my book Deceived, my wife and I, after talking with the victims in this case, this book is about a case that I investigated years ago, a cult where we rescued 32 children from a ritual group of predatory pedophiles. There were in excess of 4,000 rapes and sexual assaults of children in the case. We don't delve into the ugliness of the case. We delve into the behaviors and the lives of the survivors, who are now women in their 40s. And my wife and I felt like we would be really feeling poorly if we took the revenues from the book and went on vacation somewhere. So just recently we made a large donation to the Children's Justice Center. to be seed money in building a new children's justice center. And we also made a donation to the Victims' Rights Council for the training of police officers in dealing with child victims of crime. So thanks so much. Yeah, if you buy it at profilingevil.com, you can get the hardbound version, and you can pay a little uplift and get it autographed. You can pay a little more of an upgrade, grade and get it personalized, or you can go to Amazon and you can pick it up for a pretty inexpensive price, like 12 or 14 bucks. So that really nice of you to ask that question, Mikkel. Thank you so much. Let's see. Well, some people are looking forward to seeing what Lori looks like after she hasn't had her hair colored and other kinds of things. Okay, Fuzzy Doxy, thanks again. Let's pop this up. Once all the dark people were dead. Let's see. Oh, I did cover that one already. Thanks for that kind donation. Joy Catcher, great to see you. We're waiting, folks, for Lori Daybell to appear in front of Judge Edens and to have the information for arrest read. We'll then have the arraignment as just announced on June 9th. So Debbie Utz, the pretzel lady, very good, Mike. You and your wife are kind. That's nice. Thank you so much. Again, we're waiting for the court to resume, and then we'll get on and hear probably very much the same information we've heard. For all of you who are tuned in and listening, if you haven't subscribed to Profiling Evil, would you please do so? And if you all would crush the thumbs up thing, then that makes YouTube look a little differently at it, and they put it out where more people can see it. So hopefully this is of some help. Boston Girl 76 is saying, do you think they can add more charges? There wasn't anything for the desecration. The desecration charges are still standing. They haven't removed those. Those were in Madison County. No, I think Fremont County. Anyway, the desecration charges haven't been taken away. One of my concerns early on was that in the early stages that they might say those are lesser included and start the clock over. They clearly have started the clock on homicide, and those might become negotiable kinds of charges where they use those to get pleas for the murder or something else, and save the family and everyone else from having to testify. Let's see. Josie Ross from South Africa. Which part of South Africa? MH from Kenya. We have traveled a lot in South Africa. I get to travel there for work quite often. Love the area, especially the garden route. And folks, there's nothing like sitting in a restaurant and having baboons sit just outside the window staring at you. It's really intimidating, but apparently not as intimidating as when they eat the fermented fruit and, like drunken teenagers, start throwing rocks at the cars driving by and other kinds of things. Those are experiences my son told me about as he lived down there for a few years. But okay, let's see here. Joycatcher, let's see. Good to see you, Gerda Kutz. Is it Kutz or Kurtz? Dagmar, great to see some of the Germans popping in. We'll be in, Bonnie and I will be in Germany in a few months, making our way up kind of the southwest or southeast corner and working our way from Prague up to Berlin on some things I got to do for work. Maybe we'll run into you. Somebody's saying, I wish they'd get on with the darn trial. You ought to be doing color and trying to talk about a couple things. In fact, let's just cover a couple more things in the arrest affidavit. So while we wait, the arrest affidavit breaks down very clearly the charges of count 1 and 2 of homicide, the charges for the fraud with the Social Security numbers, and then they go into, and those are broken down and given to both JJ and Tylee. And when you're listening, I think everybody's figured out the judge's code. TR is Tylee Ryan, and JV is Joshua, JJ, Joshua Jackson Vallow. Sweet little boy. Can you imagine what their little lives must have been like for the last couple of months? Then what's going to get interesting is to hear more about Chad's murder charges for the death of his wife, Tammy, and to hear how he and Tammy, or Lori, Chad and Lori, actually shortly before Tammy was murdered, were able to get her life insurance increased. We're going to hear discussions about how Alex talked with family, and it looks like they're getting ready to start here, but about bullet drop and the accuracy of weapons in that. So, folks, when this is over, we're going to just conclude it. There's probably not much more to say other than to please again, thank you for joining up today and listening in. And please consider subscribing to Profiling Evil. To the mods who have been helping today, thank you so much. And to each of you for jumping in, thank you so much. It means an awfully lot. You can go back and get our playlist on the Daybell case and go back to the very beginning and look how we examined the death of Joseph Ryan. We talked with his sister, Annie Cushing, and you just don't want to miss that one. So go back and catch that playlist. Go back and look at how we evaluated all of the homicide around Charles Vallow. And it looks like there's Lori. So let's go into this.
We'll be on the record here in Fremont County. It is 11:44 here on the 26th of May, 2021. Good morning to everybody. We will call up case number CR 2221-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. Miss Vallow, Miss Daybell is present here with her attorney, Mr. Means. I have Miss Blake. I have Ms. Smith and Mr. Wood appearing here for the state. This is the date and time for an initial appearance. The court took a recess prior to the hearing today and had a sidebar with counsel in chambers. Based upon the information that was provided to the court finds that there's some exigent circumstances, as well as a motion that was made orally to me to continue the initial appearance by the defense to a future time. A date certain has not yet been set. What is the state's position with regards to the motion made by defense to continue this initial appearance?
Your Honor, the state objects to the motion to continue.
Mr. Means, it is your desire to seek a motion for continuance, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
I couldn't hear you. Will you speak a little bit louder?
Correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. Based upon the information that was provided to the court is going to continue this initial appearance based upon the information that was provided to me, and we will set this for a time and date certain in the future. For right now, we don't know that date and time, but we'll get that set as soon as is feasible. Any questions about what's going to happen here today, Mr. Wood?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Means?
No, Your Honor.
We'll proceed from there. Thanks, everybody, for
Your Honor,
appearing.
we would quickly ask if Mr. Means has entered a notice of appearance on this case.
Mr. Means, is it your intent to represent Miss Daybell here in this case?
It is, Your Honor.
Do you plan on entering a notice of appearance to, I guess, just to memorialize that?
As soon as I get an opportunity, I will, Your Honor.
Any other questions, Mr. Wood?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, that will be all for today. Thanks, everybody, for appearing. We will be adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So this is kind of interesting, and we'll let them all drop off unless Rob and I are going to hang out together here for a minute. So an exigent circumstance is an emergency circumstance. What that emergency is, I have no idea, but we saw a little interesting thing there. There may have been some discussion that Means had been thinking about removing himself from Lori Vallow-Daybell's defense. They just got a commitment out of him that he was planning to stay. Whether that really happens or not, I don't know. That's going to be another interesting twist. And what is the exigent circumstance or the emergency here? We are all going to be on pins and needles waiting to hear that. So, folks, that's it. That's it for today. Watch for my little mini clips that I'm going to put out on each of the individual charges in the arrest affidavit. And we'll try to keep track of when Lori comes back in front of the judge and what's going to go on there. Maybe she's ready to roll and start talking to people. Who knows? But exigent circumstances are emergency circumstances. And for some reason, she has claimed that there is exigent circumstances. She cannot face the charges today. We'll see what that is. Thanks to all of you. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell. And thanks for all that you do in support of Profiling Evil. Have a great day.